The reason why the Primo was causing me issues, very likely will never be going back in my cycle design ever again. Yes guys, and welcome back to the YouTube. So today I'm going to go over my current cycle design, setup, stack, whatever you want to call it. Some of the issues that I've faced with certain compounds, some changes that have been made, and how I react to certain drugs, certain combinations of drugs. And surprisingly, the impact that Primo has on me and why I've had to remove it. I'll give a bit of a backstory. The last year I've not ran, up until 6 weeks ago, I have not ran a proper cycle. I've flirted between 150 and 300 milligrams of testosterone and anthate. 300 milligram is slightly above the natural range for me. I'm 125 kilo, 6'5" dude, so that is not far off just a replacement dose for me, or at least how my body absorbs it. Sometimes I do go below that 300 mark, or have done, and it seems to put me at the bottom end of a natural range. So 300 is like a nice, sports TRT for me. I love that phrase, sports TRT. I had a year off, and the reason why I had a year off was because prior to that, the 2.5 years before, I've just really struggled. I don't like to admit it, but mentally I've gone through a few depressive episodes. I've really fought and battled with my mental health at times over the last couple of years, and it always seemed to be off the back of going back on cycle. And I think I've always known there was something wrong, but I just couldn't pinpoint what it was. Is it food? Is it something to do with my sleep? Have I got sleep apnea? There was a running theme, a joke between my partner Chloe and my brother, who also lives with me, and about that every other month I've got this thing that's going to fix me, because I've always feel like there's something wrong with me. And it was from drinking enough water to I've got sleep apnea, and the next thing was some sort of gluten or lactose intolerance or whatever. It turns out it was Primo, but I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. I spent a year off cycle, perfected everything, got my routine in order, made sure I was drinking plenty of water every day consistently, got all the meals in that don't cause me any bloating or issues, and I've got my sleep perfect. So I knew everything was in order when I first introduced this new cycle 5 or 6 weeks ago. That cycle was 500 testosterone and 500 Primo. Within a couple of weeks, I knew something wasn't right. I thought it might be estrogen. I feel very low mood. I thought it was high estrogen. I thought, mood swings. I thought my blood pressure had gone up. I thought maybe holding a bit more water as well. And so I thought I was aromatizing that 500 test. And so what we did is, rather than get blood work, we wanted to act quick and make conscious decisions. I felt like I could autonomously give information back to Louis, objectively as well, and he could make the right decisions. Louis is my coach, by the way. So yeah, we put the Primo up to 800 and the tests down to 400. And wow, that was a big mistake. I pinned daily, so literally within 3 or 4 days, I was like, shit, there's something not right. I'm borderline depressive, really, really bad bloating, and we pulled it out immediately. 5 days later, I feel almost normal again. 10 days later, I feel better than what I did before I went back on cycle, which makes sense because I was just running 500 testosterone. Then we got round to my check-in, about a week and a half later after removing the Primo. We put Masteron in at 400, lowered the test to 400, and put MPP in at 100. Now, I previously swore off MPP, but I also happened to have been running 600 Primo at the time I was running MPP, and that now makes sense as to why I thought I was having one of my depressive episodes. It wasn't the MPP, it was the Primo. So I was happy to give it another go. Now, the reason why the Primo was causing me issues, before I get into this, I think it's really important to reiterate, because everybody loves to be dead polarizing and cause some kind of conflict and conversation and create comments and engagement, but I think that shit's fucking stupid, and I want people to be aware that this problem, whilst isn't isolated to only me, it is very specific and not very common. And when it comes to the drug side of things in bodybuilding, treat everything with an open mind. When someone goes, this is the best way to blah, 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 this is the blah, 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 this drug should blah, blah, blah. Take stock of that information, but don't believe it wholeheartedly, because it might not apply to you, because that is the nature of bodybuilding. Everything is very individualized and very unique to each person. This problem is a unique problem to me. If you are having similar symptoms and side effects, it might be that you have a similar kind of problem. Maybe not identical, but something to at least acknowledge and potentially look at. That goes for everything, by the way, right? The reason why we typically lean into Primo over Masteron is because I've written this down, bear with me. So it's more selective to muscle receptors, skeletal muscle, right? So it has a higher affinity to skeletal muscle androgen receptors, and less in the gut, whereas Masteron is a bit of both, or more so the gut than Primo. Now, this has a bit of a knock-on effect when using Primo because it impacts bile flow, and that then can cause and can slower digestion, which then obviously causes bloating and you know, constipation and other issues. But I think that's partly the issue for me, but there's also another side effect of this, of using one over the other. Primo down-regulates DHT in your body. Again, this might not be for everyone. There is evidence and science to suggest that Primo downregulates DHT in the body, whereas Masteron acts as a replacement, like a TRT, right? So it's still very much present when you're putting it in. It's there in replace of. And so that brings a whole host of problems as well when running Primo. With that being said, knowing that DHT can be lowered potentially to a point which becomes a problem, maybe again specific to me, that can also play a role on my gut. And we know that hormones impact how the gut works. We also know that the stomach is considered the second brain, and how that impacts the rest of the body. And I think this is where a lot of my problems stem from using Primo, is that it slows digestion, it weakens digestion. I think also the change in hormones when using Primo, it's specific to Primo because I can run tests high and low, and I can manage my E2. I'm using MPP now, I don't have the same issue. So it can play havoc with my hormones. It can put me into a state of fight or flight, which then also causes disruption when eating and trying to digest food. So I've written a bit down here. DHT helps digestion massively, from stimulating the muscle to moving food along, bowel production, stomach lining support, and nervous system regulation. Primo is believed to put us in a fight or flight response more than Mast, which for some people prone to stress-induced gut issues, me, I think, Primo will do a number on the gut compared to Mast, which doesn't due to its DHT, TRT, as previously mentioned. Masteron keeps DHT-like signaling active so that these gut processes stay normal. Primo suppresses natural DHT and doesn't replace it. And there is where the gut can fall apart. So this is where my problem stems from. That's where we are. I've had a good few years of this, and a lesson is to be learned from my mistakes or misfortune. And it's just because a piece of data or paper, or just because even a coach says that there's a piece of information out there that says that Primo is mild and it shouldn't cause you any issues and blah, 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 it doesn't mean that it isn't. This is where it's really important. Whilst taking stock of what people tell you, it's really important to remain open-minded, because my first coach is the one who put me on Primo, and it was a very small amount, but my issues just progressively got worse from there. I left him and joined another coach, and very much the same, ran Primo sky high. We had issues on prep, we had issues after prep, and was constantly being told that Primo's not the issue, because Primo is a mild compound, it's a DHT, you know, it's a really easy way to run up at total androgen load. And it turns out, after working with Louis, and I'll give credit to Louis, I'll give him his flowers, he's been an absolutely incredible coach, faultless. And he's listened to me, and he's methodically worked through all the potential issues that I've been facing, or the causes of those issues, and he's allowed me to find the cause of this problem. And it wasn't, anything obscure or random. It was very simple. It was just one compound which most people get on with and agree with, which just didn't agree with me. And so we've removed that, and it very likely will never be going back in my cycle design ever again. As of today, because I've had my checking back today, as of today, we're going to shift through the gears, it seems. I know I told Louis I wanted to get up to about 1.5 gram total load. I think I've earned the right to go up to that kind of dose. I know that there's much smaller, much less experienced bodybuilders than I running a lot more than that. So today we're going to push mass up to 800, and I believe the MPP has gone up to 200. So we're running 400 test, 800 mass, and 200 MPP, and that will go in as of today. So yeah, that concludes this YouTube. If you've got any questions, or if there's anything that I can help with, please do not be afraid to fire away. I hope it was insightful, and I hope you enjoyed the watch. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and I shall see you on the next one.